Hello, hello, speakers, and welcome to today's follow-up on certification processes for your English as a second language skills. So many of you have shown interest in applying for a certification, but we very frequently have doubts which is the best option for you, yourself, and your future goals. So today we're talking about when should you choose IELTS, which is a international English language testing system. So IELTS, different from TOEFL, remember IBT computer-based, IELTS is different because first, IELTS is like managed by the British Council, the IDP Education, and the Cambridge Assessment English. So it's kind of fancier and is like more welcome by more universities, more international programs, and could be a good option if that's your idea. So if you want to study in the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, or in general in Europe, IELTS is your call. If you're applying for an immigration or work visa, IELTS is super useful as well. If you prefer a face-to-face speaking interview experience, IELTS has it for you. And then if you prefer like wider the variety of questions, remember the ones that we talked in previous videos? So if you would like a wider variety of questions, you find them at the IELTS proposal. So let me tell you that in practice, TOEFL rewards much more like the academic strategies, and it's much more into structured answers. IELTS, different from TOEFL, is like more focused into natural communication, and it's really rewarding the flexibility of the use of the language. So many students that we are considering have reached already like a B2 level, B1 plus, or above, can totally succeed on either one or the other. But of course, their personal, like the personal experience, the training, and their test taking styles often like determine which of these two could be easier for them. So we're going to talk about the 10 biggest differences between TOEFL, IBT, remember, and IELTS. For example, when you're preparing like when you're preparing your certification, you have to be very practical in looking at the differences. So because you know yourself better than anybody else, you can consider these 10 differences and decide, making best possible choice. Number one, the speaking format. For the TOEFL, for example, is like it's recorded. You are speaking into a microphone, and there is no face-to-face contact. Different from IELTS, where there is a face-to-face interview, and some people get kind of stressed or anxious, maybe a little nervous, because there is a physical person examining you, asking questions. Number two, the accent exposure. Remember, TOEFL IBT is focused on American accent, American English pronunciation. And IELTS, the accents could be from different countries around the world. For example, Australian accent, British accent, of course, American accent, So you need to consider that part. Which of both possibilities makes you feel more comfortable with? Number 3, the writing style. For example, in the TOEFL part, there is an integrated task, like you have to like read, listen, and then write. And in the IELTS, you are given a task, and it's an opinion-based written part. The reading question style for the TOEFL, for example, are multiple choice, and some of the vocabulary questions. For example, in the reading questions, they can tell you like the word this in line 4 in the first paragraph means, and they give you the options. So that's a TOEFL style. But the IELTS style is more like matching headlines, like these are the titles, which matches best each of the paragraphs, or for example, sentence completion.
Yeah.
According to my students' opinions, IELTS in this reading part is it is more tricky for you. So you need to assess that part as well. Number 5, the note-taking importance, because remember the listenings are played once. Now in the TOEFL test, it's really important. They give you a chance. Sometimes they even provide you with a notepad or paper, if it's like the paper-based. And in the IELTS is less important. So to be considered as well. Now, number 6, the test environment. For example, in the TOEFL test, is totally based on the computer, okay? And on the IELTS, there's part computer based, but there are also options. Then the interview that is face to face could be like scheduled for the same day, or sometimes it's scheduled for a different day, to be considered as well. Now, the length of the test, TOEFL pretty much 2 hours, as we already have mentioned in other videos, and IELTS take a little bit longer, 2 hours and 45, especially considering the speaking part is separate because you have this physical interview, the face-to-face one. Number 8, the scoring systems are also to be considered. For example, IELTS goes from 0 to 9 band. They give you a band 1, band 2, band 3, band 9. And the TOEFL, the IBT, goes from 0 to 120 points. For you to have a better, clear idea, if you get, for example, a 6.5 band in IELTS, it's equivalent to 79 to 93 points in TOEFL. Then if you get a score of 7 in IELTS, that would be equivalent to a TOEFL 94 to 101. And IELTS 7.5 is equivalent to 102 to 109 TOEFL. So you get a better idea of what you are talking about. Number 9, global recognition. Both IBT, remember, not the ITP, TOEFL IBT and IELTS both are accepted worldwide. But historically, and according to my experience, TOEFL is more like more common in North America, Canada, United States, Mexico, and IELTS is much more common in United Kingdom, Australia, Europe in general. And number 10, the speaking stress factor. Remember that some of us feel not very comfortable speaking in front of other people, and it's better to choose like the recorded experience, which is like the TOEFL test. And IELTS, well, it's of course more natural, but maybe a little bit more intimidating, we could say. So now, just to wrap it up, which test is easier, like historically and on my very personal experience for Spanish speakers? I'm going to point this out very carefully. TOEFL TOEFL tends to be easier if you like multiple choice questions, you are comfortable with computers, of course, if you can take organized notes, and if you feel a little nervous or stressed when speaking to an examiner, an interviewer. IELTS tends to be easier if you speak fluently in conversations, if you like discussing opinions, if you feel comfortable in interviews, and if you prefer natural communication. That would be it. Now, the most common challenge for Spanish speakers, regardless of the exam, either TOEFL or IELTS, the hardest sections of a test usually are the listening, because of the speed of the speaking or the conversations or the lectures that you are listening to. So this needs practice. Also the pronunciation, how clearly the pronunciation is while the speaking in the listening, and of course the organization. So darling, this is up to you. Now you know a little bit more about the differences, you know yourself, and if you are in this moment in the position to choose one of them, I think you are ready. But anyways, if you have some observation or question, don't forget, text, ask, and let's keep in contact. See you soon, speechers.